Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Campbell, County Judge here in Clay County, and today we're visiting with Bill Holcombe. Bill is the AgriLife Extension Agent for Clay County, and Bill, as our mutual friend Joe Tom used to say, this past week has been rougher than a stucco bathtub. I tell you, with the weather and all the problems that we've had going on, what impact has the blizzard had, particularly on agriculture in Clay County, would you say?
Um, that, the blizzard was rough on us. There's no doubt about that. I will have to say, and I mean, it's a testament to our producers with agriculture and stuff. I can't say all of them, but the vast majority of them have all been taking the optimist approach to it, that it was rough, but it's at the moment looking a lot better than they thought it would be on that Tuesday or Wednesday when we were in the middle of it. Um, the I guess technical temperature readings we got down to -8, with the wind chill between -20 and -30, depending on where you were. I'm gonna guess there were probably some low places in the county that we got down to -10 degrees, which you get that cold, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just plain cold for everything. So we are fortunate here. I know it's hard to say that, but we are fortunate. There's parts of the state that did not get snowfall, and that snow is going to be extremely beneficial to us as we move forward. We start warming up. We're also fortunate on timing to a certain degree in various aspects of it, but I'll get into that later. The biggest impact we're seeing so far on the agriculture side is cattle loss. We've had producers that have lost cattle due to calving in the middle of it. And it's really hard to save those babies when they hit the ground in that type of weather. A lot of our producers worked really hard and were very effective at saving those animals, but you're going to lose some to that just by virtue of mama goes off and hides to have it and you can't find it, or she has it in the middle of 10 to 12 inches of snowfall and you just can't find them. We've also had, and we're going to continue to see on this, and it's extremely important, producers, and I've been talking to them, and they've been doing a good job keeping an eye on those feeder cattle they've got on the wheat that hit about, probably most of them were getting them out there like a week or two before the storm hit, so they were fairly fresh. So they've got to watch them for getting sick, pneumonia, that type of thing. And then we have the adult mama cows and heifers that succumbed for one reason or another, whether they fell through the ice or they just got in a bad way and suffered through hypothermia. Cattle losses, I don't have an updated number. I know the number I had, and talking to Kenny and Michael with USDA here in Clay County had similar numbers. We were around 1,256 head, which is a lot. When you figure, though, we've got 600 livestock producers in the county, I mean, that's not a terribly high number per producer. I'm expecting that number to climb. I don't have a recent number on it, but I figure it will climb because we will have, especially those yearling feeder calves and stuff, we will continue to have some of those that just don't recover as we move forward. We're hoping that number stays low, but that's just what it is at the moment. In addition to that, I mean, we had some losses with horses. We had some losses with goats and sheep. Those numbers weren't huge because we just don't have the sheer volume out there. And typically, those are animals that are easier to get confined, to keep an eye on in those weather conditions. I know we had some that we lost, I'm sure, just because issues with water and all that, irrelevant or whatever of the actual weather conditions. I know we had some cattle that got in trouble with just getting that. We had some producers that had lots of luck and success when it just physically was impossible to get water to their cattle. The cattle were maintaining themselves on just eating snow, which there's a lot of studies out there that says they can get, over a short term, they can get their water needs met by eating snow. Of course, you've got to depend on the cow out in the pasture to decide to eat the snow. But I've talked to several producers that just got in a position with water that was their only option, and that's what they went with. And it seems so far to have worked out for them. Moving forward on that, though, like I said, it's going to be probably late March into March before we get a real handle on what these numbers look like.
Along with the cattle, certainly I know of a lot of cattle that were lost just walking out on a frozen tank and falling through. There may be some that'll be found even, yet to find those. What about the fruit crop, the peaches and all in the north end of the county? I know that's always a concern. Certainly too early for anything to be budding out, but it may be good for the peach crop, or how does that work?
I'll be hesitant to say good yet, but I am confident about the fruit trees, predominantly up around Charlie and Byers and Thornberry. We've also got some in other areas of the county. I am confident they will come through mostly fine. We were fortunate in that regard. You get down in the valley and all that, and even some of the southern areas of central Texas along the upper Gulf Coast, those trees were already starting to come out for spring, and they got hammered. Citrus trees down in the valley really got hammered. We were on a meeting the other day with AgriLife extension specialist, and they were saying they're seeing estimates of 50% loss of citrus trees down in the valley, which will really hammer some of those growers. But up here, the majority of our trees were dormant. All of those deciduous trees, fruit trees, pecan trees, peaches were dormant, and we can be extremely thankful for that. We may see some dieback just because the extreme cold we had, but the trees themselves should come through fine. We didn't get cold enough to have a large scale die off on peach trees, and then pecan trees. They can stand getting much colder while they're dormant. This has been 6 weeks from now, we'd be having a whole different conversation. But those trees should be fine. The trees, I'm getting some calls about live oak trees right now, and Judge, you look out your front door, y'all got some of those small oaks y'all planted around the annex that are looking pretty rough. And just driving around, the leaves look bad. The good thing on that is live oaks tend to drop their leaves this time of year and replace them. So hopefully that will be low stress on the trees. The other is, while you can expect some damage to some of the branches and stuff, overall, the live oak trees should come through this fine, barring random damage or just a sick tree that couldn't survive. The main thing you want to look out for on like live oak trees and stuff is bark popping off from the freeze, because that can be a big issue. As far as dead limbs and stuff, you may get some tree dieback. I would hold off on trimming any of that back, because we do not have any documented cases of oak wilt in Clay County. We do know it is in Wichita County, and we do know it is in Jack County. So there is a fairly good chance that somewhere out in somebody's pasture, we probably do have a live oak tree that's got oak wilt, but we don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
In order to prevent the spread of live oak or oak wilt to live oaks, the Forest Service recommends that you do not trim a live oak tree from February to the beginning of July, because that's when the borers are out. So if you have dieback, if you have damage to your live oaks, to quote one of our specialists, learn to live with ugly, because you don't want to go cleaning up that live oak tree and then expose that wood and a borer get in there, and then you've got a much bigger problem with an oak wilt infestation. Moving on from that, the wheat in the county was in its grass stage, which again was fortunate timing wise. The wheat and then all of our forages Mostly we're all warm season forages other than wheat around here. I know there are some people that have fescue grass or chisholm grass, but they should be in the same situation with the wheat. They should be in good shape. For our warm season forages, which are all dormant in pastures, we should be pretty good. We had 10 to 12 inch snow cover, which was very insulating. What you get worried about with forages and just about plants in general, not so much air temperature, which we got down to -8 degrees, but you're worried about surface temperature and then soil temperature. And everything we've been seeing from soil probes and everything during that time, while we got down to -8, we didn't get, the soil temperature, I think the lowest one I've seen was 28 degrees, which for all our pasture forages is well above anything to worry about with the roots. Surface temperature got a little bit lower. I think it got into the mid to low 20s, but that snow is still insulated. So for Bermuda grass, cline grass, blue stems, beetle, and all that, they should come through. You may have some burn to them or whatever when they come back out, but you should not see a lot of loss to that. Same with your yards. Granted, it just depends on the situation and everything. Nothing's set, but the Bermuda grasses and all that should come through this fine. We have a little bit of, for yard wise, we have a little bit of a few people that have St. Augustine grass up here. You may see some damage with that. I mean, if the surface temperature got down that 24 degrees range, which is what they're telling us, then you may see some serious damage and even death if you've got a St. Augustine yard. But it shouldn't be total. It'll just be, you'll have a dead spot in your yard that doesn't come back fully. They don't think we got cold enough for it to be a total kill to that. And it's, I mean, we can be extremely thankful for that snowfall we got. I mean, it only 10 to 12 inches only accumulates to about 1/4 of an inch of actual moisture. But as far as it was a dry snow, so it was very good insulating. So it should have protected those forages and kept them in good shape. On the wheat thing, like I was saying, they're the same situation. It was still in the grass stage. I have noticed, I'm not saying this is a general rule, but I have noticed the wheat on the western end of the county seems to have gotten burned more than the middle and eastern end of the counties. And same with north versus south. The northwest wheat on the northwestern corner of the county is the most burned, but that should all come back. None of it had emerged. It hadn't progressed to where we'd get serious damage to it. So the wheat should come through this pretty good.
That's good news. Changing gears on you just a little bit, I get a lot of questions still about the feral hog eradication program. I know we had noticed that we've gotten some federal money. Are you able to stay up on that? Where are we in regard to wild hogs? And I know we can't eradicate them, but maybe we can control them or at least slow them down. So what's the latest on wild hogs?
There's a couple of things. Some of the producers in the county are aware of the trapping program that we've got through NRCS over there. Well, they've I believe they either have the traps or they're expecting the delivery shortly. I'll have a meeting about that here coming up. But if they don't have the traps, they should be getting them shortly. Also, the trapper positions, I do not know if they have been filled. I know there has been, talking to people, there have been quite a number of people who seem to have applied for the position. So hopefully that'll get handled soon. The trapper position is being handled through AgriLife Extension, through our Wildlife Services Department, which is a separate entity within Extension from the county Extension side. So I don't have all the information on that, but hopefully we'll hear when they get those positions filled. I know they're hiring one here based in Henrietta, and they're hiring the other trapper position is based in Vernon. So between the two of them, they'll be covering Wilbarger, Wichita, Clay, and oh good grief, the other Childress. and that'll be the 4 counties that they'll be operating in between the 2 of them. Other than that, I know there was a bunch of hubbub back in January. There had been in Austin at the legislature, there had been a couple of bills proposed or budget amendments that tied extension and Texas Parks and Wildlife funding to not doing any research on baits or poisons for hog control. We have not gotten an official resolution on that, but the people in the know are very confident that those budget amendments will get removed. But you never know. There's a lot of people for various reasons are very anti-baiting or poisoning for wild hogs. I mean, personally, we're at a numbers wise, we're at a point that I don't think it would seriously hinder anybody's ability to hunt or trap hogs. It'd just be another weapon in the arsenal at this point, which we can use all the weapons we've got.
Well, they continue to be a problem. There's no question about that. People hitting them with cars, destroying fields. We've lost a lot of Bermuda grass fields just because we can't mow them because it's so rough to drive across. So certainly that's something that I appreciate the fact that there is some attention being paid to that concern. So looking forward to that. Oh, one final thing here. You've got a big meeting coming up Thursday night, tomorrow night, over at the Wells Fargo building here in Henrietta. And it's going to focus, sounds like, on what's available for farmers and ranchers in regard to disaster recovery from this blizzard.
Yes, sir. We typically have our ag seminar and grazing hour in the beginning of February. Due to various reasons, that scheduling did not occur this year. We're waiting on some information from the state about getting to have programs, so we got delayed. We're having our actual seminar Thursday night at 6 p.m. at the Wells Fargo building, like you said. We won't be doing a grazing hour this year. Fully intend to have it next year. I'd really enjoy that part of it. It just did not work out this year with everything going on. But the seminar, we've got a tremendous group lined up. Mike McDonald from FSA here and Kenny Pruitt from NRCS will be talking about the federal relief that's available. Then I've got our Corteva ag rep will be there talking about pasture and brush control. And then Pancho Abuelo, our district ag economist, is going to give the cattle market update, as well as talk about ways to limit issues and financial problems, things you can do with that. And then Jason Johnson, our other ag economist that helps out in this area from down in Stephenville, is going to be talking about PRF rainfall insurance, which is another option that producers can use. I got to catch myself there. I'll call it PDF and anyway. But
whole different thing.
Yes, sir. It's another program option that's out there. And then we'll have some various other topics that get talked about. There will be one CEU credit available for $10 for those who need it for a private applicator's license. There is no actual admission for the program. Our sponsors, Custom Ag Aviation, and then Kerr Feed have covered that cost, as well as Scott Cleveland will be providing the refreshments for the meeting. So we've got a good group lined up to speak. We've got some real important information, and it should be a really good quality program for everybody involved.
Well, it's certainly going to be timely, no question about that. Those are all topics that are top of mind for most anyone involved in agriculture in Clay County. And so 6 o'clock Thursday night at the Wells Fargo building. The county has purchased that building, and we're really using it for many of your 4-H events. We had the volunteer fire department there last night doing training. So it's been well used, even though we haven't done anything to it yet. So there's some big plans for it, but we're very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do that. Anything else we need to cover? I know you've got a lot of things you need to do. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'll have some information. We're in our fourth year of our forward study here in Clay County. I'll have that information at the program tomorrow night for people who want it in handout format. And then on the wild hog format, on a wild hog, I'll just add this because I get the question a lot about doing a bounty program in the county. Bounties sound really good. The problem is funding for them. The state doesn't provide funding for bounty programs, and counties that typically do a bounty end up with that money being exhausted extremely quickly. So bounty programs, while they sound very, very good and they are very good to look into, they tend to not be as effective as they hope. It takes a very large amount of money in order to keep a bounty program sustained on wild hogs, and it does not seem to be an effective control method at this time. I'm just throwing that out there because I know I get questions about it. I'm sure you've been asked.
Mhm.
That tends to be the general response about bounty programs because they're not able to be funded very long because of the cost and the volume we're talking about.
All right. Well, very good. Well, Bill, it seems like old times. And we probably ought to do this more often. You've provided a lot of great information. I appreciate the work that you do for the county. And if you have anything that you need to share, let me know and we'll get it out to the county. And once again, thanks for the work that you do. County Agent Bill Holcombe, AgriLife Extension here in Clay County. Thanks, sir.